Hi and welcome back to Death Stranding. So, bit of an odd situation has occurred. This is obviously going to be uploaded the following day as the previous episode. However, I kind of over Christmas decided to do a bit of a binge on this game and try and get all the nodes I could up to 5 stars, which I've done. Basically, I've got all but 2 stars, and apparently those 2 I can't really progress until I get further into the storyline. So, it means I'm now back at the point of making forward progress on the story. So, during that time, I put off all my reading. So, first thing I need to say is if you want to check my adventures, which is a bit of a mismatch of streams because they range from about 3 hours to 7 hours depending. There's also a few that doesn't have any mic, and there's me being dumb a lot. So, the idea is there. No. Wake you up. I want to have a look at your wristy thing. But, it does mean I have from the 22nd of December to catch up on all of this. Oh, aren't I a clever so-and-so? So, yeah, let's get started. So, Alex Weatherstone, anything left outside America? Sam, thanks again. You've done a great deal to keep things ticking here at the weather station, and we appreciate it. And the chiral network, it's incredible. If you continue to expand coverage with your Cupid, it won't be long before we have a real tracking of meteorological phenomena all over the continent. We still won't have much of an idea what's going on elsewhere, but there's not a whole lot we can do about that. And while I may be chasing rainbows, I still hope we can get a view from above the clouds one day. It's crazy. No one really wants to know what happened to the rest of the world, even now. Maybe the Stranding destroyed everything except America. Maybe we're the only ones shrouded in clouds of chiral matter, and the rest of the world is carrying on without us. Or maybe the whole damn universe got wiped out and it's all that we are left floating in space. Alright, that last one's just me being pessimistic ass, but the point stands. We need to know what's out there, and to do that we need you to bring the whole continent onto the network. You are our best hope, Sam. You're our only hope, in fact. It's the Collector. We used to have these things called magazines. Back before the Stranding, there was a medium known as magazines, a collection of articles and pictures printed on paper. Some magazines had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of readers. At the height of their popularity, it was rare for people to get all of their information and news from them. Oh, it wasn't rare, sorry. Journalists and editors would collect data, conduct interviews, and compile them into weekly or monthly issues, and readers would devour them with relish. My own father was an editor of a popular magazine, one that published hints and strategies for beating popular video games. Sadly, not long before the Stranding, digital media rose to prominence, and that spelled the end of print publications. Thanks to the internet, anyone could reproduce content, and anyone could consume said content. People became their own editors, their own curators of the truth, as it were. But my father was always one to swim against the tide, and so he stuck with the print. In spite of writing on the wall, they called him the last editor-in-chief. Over the years, he amassed a massive number of magazines and newspapers, all of which I was free to peruse growing up. After he passed, I took up the mantle and continued expanding the collection. But now, in this post-Strand world, we have the chiral network. It's incredible technology, but we will be no different than the internet in the end. I, for one, have no desire to see it descend into a cesspool of abuse and misinformation. Nothing can be done to prevent that, then I want nothing more to do with it. From the Craftsman, the age of printed nukes. I used to have this prepper friend, an old guy, who'd always talk about how good old days before the Stranding 3D printing was all the rage apparently, and the tech could be used to spit out pretty much anything you could think of, even the most complicated stuff. Didn't take long for the first gun to be printed. All of you had to do was input the right data and you had yourself a firearm. People didn't think much of it at first, but as kids messing around and all that, but didn't stop there. Printed guns became printed bombs, and then printed bombs became printed nukes. Illegal as hell, of course, but the government couldn't do anything to stop it. If you've got no idea who's packing a nuke, the best course of action is to make sure you're packing one yourself, right? That's how people thought back then. Anyway, mutually assured destruction for every honest citizen. People saw enemies everywhere. Terrorism, sleeper cells, all that shit. And then there was an explosion. The Death Stranding had nothing to do with nukes, of course, but people were pretty quick to jump to the wrong conclusions. Sorry, chat's just commenting on the fact they're now going to Google how to 3D print a nuke. Almost everybody assumed that it would be terrorism. Why wouldn't you? Anyway, this old timer, he didn't want anything to do with other people. He just wanted to shut himself up in the shelter and be left alone. He was scared. Everything that came before had led to the world filled with weapons. I could see where he was coming from, thinking society and government were doomed to fail. But I'm more optimistic. As long as we remember the mistakes of the past as we strive for a brighter future, I believe we can prevent another explosion. Guess what I'm saying is I'm not fully aware of the risk, but I think I'm going to give UCA a shot. Mounting Guide. We've picked a name. Dear Sam, I thought I'd let you know that our son is in good health, which is a relief because I was so nervous giving birth that with just the two of us here, but the doc gave me great advice and in the end it felt like he was there in the room with us. Heart. I also wanted to say that if you hadn't shown up when you did, this baby of ours may not be here. I might not be here. The doc was a huge help, of course. There's no denying we owe you so much for, to the generosity of many people, but it all began with you, which is why we're going to name him Sam. You idiots. I pray that as he grows older, he'll bring people together just like you. Yes. The chiral artist, mother. What do you think of the chiral boots? I love them. Dear Sam, thank you again for everything you've done for us. I've been wondering, how are those chiral boots of yours holding up? My daughter's one who made them, and in case you don't know, I'm not too sure how they work myself. Something about beryllium coating makes them extra durable. I'd be worried about chiral contamination myself, to tell the truth, so I wouldn't blame you if you didn't wear them and just held on to them as a keepsake. Having said that, if I know anything about you, Sam, you're going to want to try them at least once. You strike me as someone who values practical over ornamental. My daughter made several pairs like that, you know? She's really quite something, isn't she? Anyway, if you decide to take them for a spin, let me know how they treat you. Junk dealer, how's my ladder working out for you? Hey, Sam. You find a use for the ladder I gave you? I built it with my own two hands, you know. So, it's one of a kind. That's why I've got 3 of them. Not some run-of-the-mill gadget. For one thing, and you've probably noticed already, it's coated in beryllium crystals. A little trick I picked up from my better half. As you might have guessed, downside of that coating is it renders it unprintable. Not that you'll ever have to fabricate a replacement, of course. We're talking super lightweight, timefall resistant to boot. It's the last ladder you'll ever need unless you lose it. You haven't, right? Anyway, let me know what you think, okay? Feedback is always welcome. It's weird. So this is Thomas Sunderland. Is it weird to have feelings for bots? Yes, chat. It is strange to have feeling for bots. You're not meant to go beep boop every time the bots come out. This stays between you and me, okay? I'm trusting you. Right, here goes. Thing is, I've come to have feelings for the delivery bots. Nothing weird, just no. There is lots weird about that. You know how people are happy to see when you drop by and worry about you when you're not around? Well, it's like that. For bots, I can tell them apart, know that every scratch, every patch of paintwork. Do you want to be left alone with the bot legs? Every little quirk, I know their personalities. And if we lose one, I can't say I wouldn't shed a tear or two. Sounds crazy, right? Hey, some bots don't have feelings, but humans can't help it. And convincing yourself it's not logical and try not to fight it is easier said than done. Maybe that's why people used to name their cars. Because they were more than tools, you know? Not that you don't understand, you have BB. They may tell you it's just equipment, and you may tell yourself that too, but that's not what you need to believe in your heart, is it? According to chat, they are programmed for love. I just hope, not love making, because that would be wrong. So, this obviously came through on Christmas Eve. So, Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Day, Sam. Merry Christmas to you. Most people on this day and age don't even know what Christmas is. Really. Of course, but before the Stranding, it was a huge deal. The most wonderful time of the year. People used to get together with their families, eat all sorts of special food, put on tons of weight, and trying to ignore the rest of their family. Sorry, I was going off on one. Eats all sorts of special food and give each other gifts. There was also a guy called Santa Claus, or Father Christmas, who'd go around all the houses delivering presents to children. You might say he was a porter just like you, or perhaps should I say that you're our Santa Claus. Anyway, Christmas was considered a holiday, and I don't think we should let that tradition die. Kick back and relax, Sam. Ho, ho, ho. Ludens fan. Thanks for the Ludens, man. You're the best, Sam. You brought me something one of a kind. The Ludens figurine, signed by none other than the creator itself. Tried printing that with chiral printer. And the one you've got is pretty cool, but this is a national treasure. Legend has it that these Luden figures, predominantly in one of the creator's games, pre-Stranding humans, Homo sapiens, were obsessed with them, you know. It was through these works they reached the next level and became Homo Ludens. Apparently, what they played weren't games in the usual sense, but since they aren't around anymore, we might never know exactly what that means. But these Luden figures are symbols of one game in particular, and I guess you could say that by collecting these figures, I'm playing a game of my own. Yes, okay, you definitely hit the fourth wall hammer too hard on that nail and bent it. So, Alex Witherspoon, watch out for chiral spikes. Things are looking up, Sam. We're now getting temperature, humidity, wind speed, and air pressure readings, along with chiral density data over a huge area and in real time to boot. And we were able to analyze all that data and provide incredibly accurate forecast for what's going to happen next. Most importantly, we can carefully track chiral density in regions where BTs are predisposed to appear, which allows us to predict when and where timefall is likely to occur. But you know what's strange? We've been getting some odd reading lately, massive chiral spikes. But outside these BT zones, we also heard that Higgs managed to, I guess you'd say, summon a BT or two to Port Knot City, and that you were attacked by them. Damn. If our assumptions were mistaken and BTs can pop up anywhere, if Higgs or someone like him makes it happen, then we all have hard work we need to put into developing our timefall forecast. Might have been for nothing. Not much point in predicting rain when the end of the world is on the horizon. Collector, we used to have these things called letters. Newspapers and magazines used to be published on a regular basis, once a month perhaps, or in the case of newspapers, every morning or evening. They were part of life's rhythm in my father's time. Some people's routines practically revolved around them. But no matter how much you yearned for the next issue, you had no choice but to patiently wait until it was published. It was the same with letters once. There was a time when you couldn't just compose and send a message and have it delivered to the recipient almost instantaneous. No, you had to take up pen and paper, carefully write out your thoughts, which you then had to seal in an envelope and stick it in the postbox. You forgot the stamp. After which you had to wait for the postman to come collect, process, and eventually deliver, unless it gets lost in the post. It might take days for some letters to reach their destinations, even longer even if you had to travel through the sky or across the sea, and then after all that waiting, no choice but to wait even longer for a reply. Can't help thinking that might have been a good thing. Imagine spending your days waiting with bated breath, wondering what postman might bring. What a beautiful exercise of imagination. Ludens fam, order delivery to Port Knot City. Sorry Sam, I know you're a busy man, but I need you to deliver something to a guy called Victor in Port Knot City. It's only right that he has it, not me. And it's unique too, so chiral printing is not an option. If you could do the honors, I'll be super grateful. The musician, who looks terrible with that haircut. Music Unlimited. Yo Sam, thanks for dropping by, man. Gotta say, I wasn't expecting visitors, but hey. It was good to see somebody. Anyway, I decided to join the UCA just to see what the deal is. I mean, I'd heard the rumors, but I always was a bit skeptical. I didn't think countries or borders or whatever had anything to do with music. I was way off though. The chiral network's incredible. The guy can get all the music you could ever need. There's some seriously good shit on here too. It's all pretty old though. As far as I can see, nobody's written anything in forever. Nobody except me, that is. You might need to be happy putting on the classics on repeat, but that's not how I roll, man. Ain't a life worth living without sounds. You feel me? I need to have a little bit of drink. So the collector again. We can't go back to how things were. Da-da! I know I mustn't sit around pinging the good old days, as much as I may lament its passing. Print was already a good and dead when I was born. We can't go back, and therefore we must do our best to live in the present, which is why I've decided to join the UCA. Chiral network is a marvel, there's no denying it. I understand it can even be used to send physical objects now after a fashion, and transmission is instantaneous. What more could we ask for? But we still must call upon strapping porters such as yourself to transport medicine, food and other organic goods. So it seems we cannot do without you just yet. But if the two halves of the equation can be balanced with one another, the UCA's future may be bright indeed. Luden's fan. Luden's our saviours. Was great seeing you again, Sam. You really won in a million. So I started using the Chiral network to look into the history of the whole Luden's thing. I don't have it all figured out, but it's clear that it was pretty important. I mean, the game it symbolised was freaking huge, completely unlike anything that had come before, and this guy from Japan came and visited and gave me a big load of money so I could say some really nice things about the game. It exploded man's potential to play in exactly the same way as Huzungi described when he coined the phrase Homo Ludens. Well, my phone's just going nuts with notifications. He had this theory that play was older than even culture itself. I'd actually agree with that idea. And it was at the heart of what made us who we are. I believe that if we can rediscover the kind of play he was talking about, we can undo the damage caused by the chiral contamination and rid the world of Homo Gestal and Homo Demus once and for all. To think that games could be the key to saving humanity. No. No, no, no. Veteran Porter, thank you, you saved my life. Sam Porter Bridges, huh? I've heard an awful lot about you. I'm a porter too, see? And I like to take an interest in my fellow delivery boys and gals. Now, you probably don't know the first thing about this, but the fact is, after the Stranding hit, the government didn't come to the rescue. Matter of fact, the almighty USA did jack shit. And you know who picked up the slack? Private porters, that's who. Could or would. Making deliveries that kept people alive, stepping up and doing what no one else could or would. That's the world I grew up in. I learned at the end of the day, it's only the people that you can trust, individuals, not organisations. That's why I want no part of the UCA or Bridges either. Sorry, but that's just how I feel. Nevertheless, I will say that I am mighty grateful to you to bring me those meds. I'm not sick or anything, just so you know. I'm not even injured, just worn out, burnt out, fucked on a quantum level, if you like. That's what happens when you push yourself too far, making one delivery too many. Used to be there wasn't a single mountain I couldn't climb. I'd even trek down south to places most porters never heard of, much less seen with their two eyes. Not anymore. I'm not full-on retired or anything, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about how much longer I could go on. Tell you what though, I was doing a lot better after you dropped in to see me. Felt good to know that I had a buddy out there, somebody who'd keep fighting the good fight long after I'm gone. You'll do that for me, won't you, Sam? Oh, speaking of places down south, if you want to go there, see a doctor. I remember the last thing I was out that way, I saw something. Little glowing thing it was. No idea what the hell it was, but didn't look something like somebody had dropped. What's an object like that? Getting there. Ludens fan, are you Ludens? I had this crazy idea, Simon. What if you're the perfect example of Homo Ludens? Think about it. You're with bridges, but you're not beholden to them. You're the only one who can expand the network, so you need as much as you need them, if not more. Taken all together, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want, including coming all the way out here to visit me on a whim. Maybe what you do isn't play in the strictest sense of the word. Doesn't help you blow off steam, I'd expect, but you go about your business as you like, and your actions have direct effect on our culture and our world. I'd say that there's sort of life any aspiring Homo Ludens would envy, don't you? You're nuts. Veteran Porter, you're the reason I'm getting no orders. How's it going, friend? Much obliged for the meds. These aches and pains of mine are more manageable now. Was a mighty fine delivery set up around these parts once upon a time, before it all went to hell in a handbasket. Folks still need stuff though. This here's a hard country. Oh, you gotta speak like that. Hard to put down roots and hard to get, yeah, he is that sort of talker. Hard to get out when the going gets tough. Used to do what I could do for those in need, make sure that they didn't get left to rot. And then the damnedest thing, I started seeing fewer and fewer orders, got to wondering if something was afoot. Turns out it was just little old you, taking on the burden right when I was due for a long rest. Thanks, Sam, you're one of the good ones. Mind you, I wasn't half bad myself, made it all the way to Edge Knot City once. Crossed the tar belts and everything. Weird place with distro centre smack dab in the middle of the downtown. Weird cargo too, stuff you'll never see back east or anywhere else for that matter. As long as I'm rambling, you ever read about the gold rush? Happened long ago. People heard there was gold out west and started heading there in droves, eager to make their fortune. Well, the darndest thing, but I think I saw some gold myself when I was out that way. Maybe it's something else that had a goldish tint around it, though. We're up to the almost. That's not bad. That's the 27th of December. So I've done like 3-4 days. So this is the Timefall farmer. Dear Sam, seems we've grown more wheat than we could harvest. More than a bot could handle even. Say, have you been making use of that new Oblek picture we shared with you? Yes. A friend of ours developed it especially for us, so we could analyse the soil and choose the best spots to grow wheat. Ours got lost in the terrorist attack on Middle Knot City though. Still, we can definitely vouch for how useful it was. Be sure to give it a try if you haven't already. Anywho, we've been doing some light reading and trying to figure out what to do with our bumper crop, and it turns out the history of wheat is really quite fascinating. Did you know it's original strain of grass native to the Middle East? That's right. But it wasn't until our ancestors began to cultivate it that we really came into its own. It turned hunters into farmers overnight, challenging the evolution of mankind. Homo sapiens settled down in one place and stockpiled stockpiled food. You wouldn't want to stockpile poo. Settled down one place, stockpiled food. Why is my brain doing that to that series of words? Rather than chasing it all over the creation, and with the stability came society, culture, religion, all courtesy of the little old wheat. But it wasn't one-way street. Oh no. We made out like a bandit. That obscure Middle Eastern grass wound up spreading to all 4 countries of the corners of the globe. Now that's one phrase that always drives me bonkers. 4 corners of the globe. The globe isn't a perfect sphere. I know that. We're looking at close to a circle, but also with elements of like an egg shape in it. But it's a globe. Doesn't have corners. You could even say it was wheat that used us and not the other way round. In fact, some scholars say just that we became slaves to wheat. What do you think about that, Are we about to become slaves all over again? I sure hope not. The environmental scientist. Reed's great and all, but dear Sam, thanks for stopping by again. I'm sure it was plain enough to see, but this farming experiment of ours has been a runaway success. I tell you what, if Emil never took an interest in our research, and you'd never put us in touch with the Rev Station folks, none of this would have been possible. Thanks to you two, we've been able to provide a constant supply of food for one and all. Having said that, life isn't exactly the one that we had in mind. We came here to study the effects of time for one plant life. We never intended to stick around and become farmers, but then we got into thinking that it might be possible to reclaim the crater soil, and one thing led to another. Don't know if Emil expected we'd stay here so long, and we're still keen to continue the research. We've got more to offer the world than wheat, but if we don't move on, does that mean we really become slaves to it after all? You've been talking to your husband way too much. Cosplayer, using the network to spread the cosplay gospel. Joining the UCA has done so much to help me spread the word about my costumes. And all sorts of people have gotten in touch and sent me new ideas for designs. This would have never happened if it weren't for you, Sam. Thank you. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but I've got a twin sister. Maybe you've met her. She's a prepper too, but she doesn't do cosplay. She's more interested in spiritual stuff, you know? Mystical mumbo jumbo. Would that be the spiritualist? 2 sides of the same coin, though, I guess. Cosplay's all about metamorphosis, being one with nature. You should go and have a chat with her. If you haven't, she's pretty interested in her own way. So, deepest apologies. You so many. Peter Engelbert, Pizza Man, deepest and sincere thanks and apologies. My dear Mr. Bridges, you're truly the man of surprising kindness and generosity, and the pizza you delivered was most scrumptious we have supped on today. Oh, but my levity is unbecoming. My grave, dare I say, disastrous failure to convey my appreciation to you in the flesh warrants an explanation. To my chagrin, the circumstances were entirely outside my control prior to your arrival. My better half and I had one of our rare but rather intense lovers' quarrels, which led to her storm off in a proverbial huff. And what manner of husband would I be if I let her wander the wilderness alone? I simply had to go after her. Upon a turn, we were greeted with fresh pizza still piping hot from the oven, and she was entirely over the moon that she forgave me for everything. Suffice to say, I am in your debt to a considerable degree. For one last meal, only pizza will suffice. My dear Mr. Sandbridges, once again it is I, Peter Engelbert, and once again I must implore you to fulfill an urgent request. I speak, of course, of pizza. Or you declare me unforgivably selfish. I know that on this occasion I write to you on behalf of my elderly father, who has been fiendishly out of sorts of late and has been divulged to me his dreams of the beach. You can imagine how I felt upon hearing such dreadful news. I fear he may not be long for this earth, and that being the case, I cannot bear the thought that he might shuffle off the mortal coil, having never sampled transcendental delights you deliver. Could you grant him his final kindness by ferrying a dish in question from Mountain Knot City? My father has often spoken of his fondness for salami. If you could ensure that this last supper is topped with copious servings of said sausage, he'd be a happy man indeed, I'm sure. Wandering MC. My all-American cosplay convention dream coming true. Well, Sam, I never thought this day would come, but it looks like we're going to host an all-American cosplay convention. All credit to you, of course. Well, you and the Chiral Network, anyway. We're all pretty busy preparing for it right now, but I just wanted to drop you a line to tell you something you might like. More and more porters are getting into cosplay and transforming themselves into you, Sam. Okay, we're going for another fourth wall thing because of cosplay and conventions and Reddit and people post. Yeah, I don't mean that they're just wearing the same clothes either. They're adopting your voice, your mannerisms, everything. Honestly, I actually thought it was you the first couple of times, but there's no way even a man who delivers could work so quickly. Gotta say, people are getting so good at cosplay, it's scary. But it's an honor for you, huh? You should be proud of yourself, Sam. See, that feels like it's like congratulating the actor that was playing Sam. The Collector, I'm publishing a new magazine. Dear Sam, I'm writing to inform you of a rather exciting development. I have devised a method by which the Chiral Network and your consummate abilities as a porter could be combined to usher in a new age for America. What is the one thing we have yet to truly transmit via the network? The trials and tribulations of our friends and saviors, the porters. That's what? Their thoughts, their feelings, their musings as they walk the lonely road. The grand visas to which they bear witness. I believe that if humanity were able to share in the incredible experience, we might stand a better chance of coming together as one. Would you permit me to use this theory of mine? I wish to chronicle your travels so that people can be united under the appreciation of your daily struggles. I might call it keeping up with the couriers, or perhaps something more Hamarura? My family name. Names are odd. What voice? No, we still have Mike. We're still good. Confused. Okay, The Collector, Hamura's Porter Chronicles 1. Very first edition of Hamura's Porter Chronicles is here, hot off the press, as it were. I've taken the liberty of sending you an excerpt. See what you think. No one could have failed to notice the changes that have occurred in the world of the logistics over the past 3 months. Indeed, it would not be exaggeration to state that this industry has undergone a revolution, as evidenced by the fact that so many porters have been performing admirably. The emergence of a front runner in any industry is usually followed by an increase in standards across the board, and the logistics sector is currently being transformed by a front runner unlike any other. I refer, of course, to Sam Bridges. None can doubt his strength of will, nor his unwavering determination in the face of insurmountable odds. Through the man of few words those present on the rare occasion, he breaks his silence, and his candours refreshing and welcome. He is the porter of the future, and in many ways all our fates are entwined with his. Be sure to follow his exploits in future installments of Homogara's Portal Chronicles. Okay, thank you, Chet. Oh, in Southwick. I spoke to my parents. You'd never guess what happened today. I spoke to my mum and dad. Sorry. Not for long, but I spoke to them. First time in 3 years. They live up in Capital Knot City, but they were as chirograms floating right in front of me when I said my goodbyes and left with the first expedition. I thought it would be it for us. Then they used to have a whole ceremonies of folks when they died way back before the Stranding. Not like now. Can't spare a monument before the body's whisked away for incineration. And if you can't make your pace with your loved ones, why put yourself through the pain of sticking around to watch them get sick and fade away? Leastways, that's what I thought until today. Now that I've seen their faces again, I can't help but wonder if the day might come when our work is finally done and I can go home. Oh, we're back to continuing. Okay, some more of the news magazine. What are you doing? Folks are real grateful for your sacrifice. Quit your bitching, come on. These are some of the few words Sam Bridges has been overheard uttering while faithfully carrying out his duties as porter. Endearing, is it not? Too many porters succumb to the strain of the chosen profession and become unnaturally obsessed with their mission. These are the poor souls who compulsively steal cargo, the mules, the madman who revel in the wanton destruction, the demons. Is the stress of one too many poor evaluations which drive them over the brink? If so, then perhaps they should take a page from the book of Sam Bridges. For there is nothing a man cannot accomplish by the sweat of his brow or the sheer by the sweat of his brow. Okay, now I've got Bioshock in my head. Should we be surprised by Sam's feats? Those of us who believe in nominative determination would say no, for we have always known that Bridges would excel at connecting people. We have no doubts that Sam is the future of logistics and the future of America. Good luck to you, Sam. Be sure to check out more of the Porter Chronicles for your monthly dose of Porter news. Does that mean I don't get one until the 28th of January? That'd be nice. Veteran Porter, I've reached my limit. Road treating you alright, Sam? Gotta say, you gave us porters something to be proud of, truly. You do. Before I went solo back in the day, I was making runs with this delivery outfit. Wasn't easy living, these parts being unforgiving the way they are. But that didn't stop our guys and gals. We had ourselves a damn good leader. Didn't have dooms or anything, but he had a nose for BTs, which made it even bigger boot to the gonads when he went over to demons. Yep, that's right. Higgs is my old boss. You gotta understand though, those were crazy times. Guys were losing their minds left and right going mule. Seemed we had a one-way ticket to Shitsville. A few like me went independent, but most certainly couldn't hack it. Got out of the game before the game got them. Stubborn old me knuckled down, kept on going, but this life takes its toll. Glad you came along when you did, partner. Timeful farmer, slaves to the wheat no more. Dear Sam, we had a little spat the other day, as you might expect. It was over the whole issue of becoming slaves to wheat, losing sight of why we came here in the first place. Yep, you've been cooped up for far too long and you went a little cuckoo. Sure, we started looking at the whole plant life and timeful problem and how we might turn craters green again. But somewhere along the line we got caught up. We got caught up in the success of our experiments with grain cultivation, and our original purpose fell by the wayside. But is it really that bad? Thanks to the work we've done, we have bread and plenty of it. Timeful porter by the barrel load too. Everyone has benefited, you included, I'm sure. And now we've got danged up place and running. We can very well leave it to the seed now, can't we? This isn't about wheat anymore, it's about people. We're not slaves, Sams. No more than you are. Yeah, I just carry my... So we're... there, so let's keep track. There we are. So, Charles Can, something growing down in the crater. Hey, Sam. Everyone's got something they're good at, right? Well, I'm no exception. Ever since I realised I was stranded here on the desert island of the continent, I've been keeping my eyes fixed on the horizon. You know what? My vision's got better result. People have taken to call me Eli Charles, and that ain't no lie. I spy things long before anyone else. Coral clouds suddenly shift in the sky, porters walking along the mountain ridge, an undiscovered hot spring down in the valley. You name it. What's more, I think I've gotten even better at lately. I reckon it's because of the chiral network, or maybe it's my mind. Whatever. Anyway, I want to tell you that there's something I saw. Something small and glowing in the small crater where Middle Knot City used to be. I really wanted to investigate, but we don't have any Bridges people in that area. Maybe it's something you could look into if you're passing by. Veteran Porter, keep your eyes on your leaders. Howdy, Sam. I know you're working your arse off out there, but if you forgive me if I hesitate just a little to put my faith in another untitled this or that. I've seen what happens to good leaders go bad, and it ain't pretty. I ain't saying it's inevitable, but Bridges or the UCLA or whatever wound up head by some arsehole drunk on power. Where would that leave us? And now I hear nothing but kind words about President Strand and her kid. But who's to say that the other won't, one or the other won't change, or that whoever comes after might just be as decent? Don't get me wrong, I'm not too fond of things how they are, and I agree folks better off together than apart. It's just gave me a chance to see how things pan out first. Okay, I hope you don't think I'm being pompous old coat, passing judgment from on high. I want to believe. No. That's the X-Files one, isn't it? I want to believe, but I've been burned so many times before. I can get over that. Who knows? Maybe I'll go and join the good old UC of A after all. You already have. Look, these 5 stars. Charles Ken. I hope terrorists haven't got you yet. Thanks again, Sam. We're always stoked to see you drop by. How many times is that now? Can't help worrying about you. You'll have to run in with your neighbourhood arseholes one of these days, though. And what makes me sick? The more shit Higgs pulls, the more his band of madness seems to spread. Was just Mills at first, but these days average porters are getting caught in his orbit. I don't need to tell you about Fragile Express and all that, right? Clearly the guy's shit is inspiring others. What's the other groups aping his methods and regurgitating his rhetoric? A United Nations of arseholes trying to take humanity by the hand and drag it kicking and screaming over a cliff. Ugh. I'm sure you've heard all this like a zillion times, but you're our only hope, Sam. Don't let that bastard beat you. I owe you my life. Langdon. Sam, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the guy you brought that blood for. If you hadn't come through for me, I wouldn't be looking forward to working again. Or writing you now, or here, period. That sounds like one of my letters. I wanted to thank you face to face, but since I don't know when I might get the chance, I thought I'd write to you instead. Need you to know how grateful I am. I owe you my life. I'll never forget that. If you hadn't taken that order, your next might have been to haul my corpse to the incinerator instead. I'll be ash in a carillum in the wind by now. Or worse, a BT. If you've given me another chance, one I do not intend to waste. Assured I'll repay my debt by doing everything I can to help you rebuild America. Veteran Porter. Still can't trust any organization. I'm sorry, Sam, I trust you, I really do. But I'm just not sure about this whole bridges thing. Things don't tend to end well when folks join together, at least in my experience. I mean, mules work in groups, right? So do terrorists. Should we really be taking lessons from them? Sam, do you really know who these bridges guys are? Do you trust them? Are you even sure you want the same thing? I'm not saying I'm against the whole idea of a UCA or anything, but, well, I'm going to need some time to think about it. Charles Can needs to cut down on the magic of mushrooms. Saw another one of those glowing things. I saw it again, Sam. That same weird glowing thing. It's been swinging by the local incinerator daily, keeping an eye out for BTs. Mind you, it's getting easier to give them a slip. Just look out for fluctuations in chiral density, and you've got a pretty good idea they're heading your way. And you know what? I haven't seen one yet, even when the timefall's gotten pretty bad. My buddies tell me I need to go out there. I don't need to go out there anymore. Don't need eyes on a BT to track their movements. But I'd given up. I wouldn't have seen it again. That same strange glow. This time near the incinerator. You've got to see what with your own eyes. I'm telling you, chiral fluctuations don't tell the tale. Just promise me one thing. You'll go hunting for it. Be careful. Alright. Langdon. I went to the beach. Sam, until you showed up with that blood, I was good as dead. I remember lying on the gurney, a buddy calling me my name. I heard him, even though I must have been unconscious, and then I was looking down at myself. Nobody seemed to notice me. Then there was this light that came down from the ceiling. It was bright, so bright I had to close my eyes, and I could feel it pulling me in. As I floated up towards it, I heard waves breaking on the shore. and when I opened them, I was by the seat alone. Couldn't tell you how long I was there for, but it felt like years. But it also felt like I'd only just arrived, and then I heard a voice, so I chased after it, chased it beneath the waves. All of a sudden, something got my leg and was pulling hard. Next thing I know, I'm awake, and my buddy's yelling, "He's alive! He's alive!" I've been to the beach and back, and wouldn't happen if... What would have happened if I'd stayed? Okay. Charles Can, the obelisk, showing me some weird stuff. Hey Sam, the chiral network's really shaping up, isn't it? As you know, I'm officially part of the security detail here, but I've been doing more and more reconnaissance recently. Told you that I've been making daily trips to the incinerator, right? Well, I've added a few strings to my bow of late. Even though my eyesight's still the best around, I've been playing around a bit with the obelisk scanner. And you know what I've learned? You can use it to do more than view terrain info and track lost cargo. Sometimes it'll pick up these strange thread-like structures too, linking the sky to the ground. You won't read about those in the obelisk manual, and yes, it does come with a user's manual. You know, I heard the obelisk design was based on spools of thread that people used to soothe babies when they were upset. Where, if that's the case, it makes sense that they'd react to people's feelings, right? That's what I think anyway. Hell, maybe those threads are the chiral network's connections themselves. Growing web of connections stretched across the continent. Wouldn't surprise me at all, at the least. I've seen all kinds of things on my travels, though. Piles of stones, weird mushrooms. See, he's been eating mushroom. Though a part of me is starting to wonder if those may have been holograms or hallucinations. Or another reaction to people's feelings or something. I don't know. Have you ever seen anything like that, Sam? Anyway, if you've got the time, swing by and chat about this stuff. It'd be great. The novelist on Gourds keep evil at bay. Mr. Sam Bridges, thank you so much. Thank you so much for bringing that cargo all the way out. I must say, I didn't think I was ever going to get the chance to meet the man I'd heard so much about. I respect your mission and try and rebuild America of yore. Though I can't say it's got anything to do with me, frankly. I'm not even sure if I'd agree with it in principle. I really am grateful though. Thanks to you, my life work is back on track. My beloved gourds are looking more healthy and lively than ever. Admittedly, the ideal climate for gourds would be warmer than what I've got here, but I've managed to do well enough, all things considered. Hope my father would be proud, though he made a living as a novelist. He was also something of a Gouldist. I felt compelled to carry on his legacy one way or the other. Since I'm no wordsmith, I really only had one choice. You know, I read somewhere that Goulds used to be considered very lucky in the Far East, and that could be used as charms to ward off evil. Kinda like that dream catcher of yours, come to think of it. Gourds are like Noah's Ark. Mr. Sandbridges, how many times is that now? I've lost count, I tell you, though. I've grown so many gourds, I don't know what to do. Every day I see more and more of those funny little shapes popping into existence. Warms my heart just to look at them. Remember the story of Noah's Ark? I bet you don't know that there's a very similar tale in the Far East. It tells of a huge storm and an even bigger flood that followed. Seeing this, a man told his son and daughter to hide inside a pair of gourds. The flood grew greater and more terrible, and everybody died except those two children, for whom we are all descended. So you see, gods can save the world, and I do mean the world, not just America. I'm looking forward to giving you some when it comes to harvest time. Am I making a dent in this? And then I've got the other bit to do as well. Nice. Peter Engelbert, on behalf of the dead, I give you my undying thanks. My dear Mr. Bridges, you cannot possibly know how perfect your timing proved to be. At the very moment your pizza arrived, my dear father had all but set out on his final journey to the great beyond, which is why I was unable to thank you, you understand? But you will surely find comfort in the wonder your delivery wrought. Before he breathed his last, Daddy dearest took a first bite of pizza, the remainder of which I later consumed out of respect. He proclaimed it divine, the nectar of the gods themselves. And then he finally passed. His smile was sublime. May I say, on behalf of both of us, and whatever prepared that wizardry of culinary arts, you have, as ever, my undying thanks. Engineer, the great deliverer, delivers a mule beat down. Hey, Sam. I feel like I finally understand why you call you the great deliverer. After all, you're the one who dealt with the mule who were blocking the route between my shelter and Lake Knot City, right? I mean, you must have been. No one else would have managed that, especially all by themselves. I feel a bit pathetic, just cheering you on from the sides, but I guess that's all I can do. Good luck, Sam. Film director, the amazing potential of hologram generators. I'm grateful to you, Sam. It really was you every time. I've got to say, joining the UCA opened up a real treasure trove of data, but it seems I'm not the only one who's got some new toys to play with. Have you given your Obelisk new hologram generator a try? It's amazing. Sorry, it's pretty amazing. Not only do the grams just look like real rocks, they don't get picked up by mole scanners either. You can use them for concealment, unlike the technology and techniques we use to make old movies. Light and shade, optical illusions, but the level of realism is something else. I'll let you into a little secret. I used a hologram generator to sneak into a mule encampment and shoot some footage. They had no idea I was there. It's amazing the kind of shots you can get when no one knows you're filming. In fact, decided I'm going to use the same technique to shoot a whole movie. I'm going to call it The Great Deliverer. I've already got you down for the starring role, Sam. You won't disappoint me, will you? Medical device engineer. The terminal only works because of the network. Thank you again for not only delivering the terminal of mine, but providing network connection for its function. Otherwise, it would have been no better than a box of circuits and solenoids. The network has made a difference in other ways as well. It's much harder now for city doctors to ignore the sick out there for a start. Their manner that out of sight, out of mind attitude was the suffering beyond the walls that drove my husband crazy, and was one of the reasons we moved in the first place. Without even a modicum of compassion or consideration, they'd demand people to come into town to see them, and then these poor folks inevitably couldn't make the trip. Corpse disposal ended up with more bodies to burn. I couldn't help but be moved by his passion for his profession. didn't think twice about joining him or marrying him. I thought a great deal about what kinds of benefits the chiral network might be, which led me to devise a terminal as a means of treating patients remotely. As he may have told you, we have the one for now, but if it continues to perform well, we can find means to mass produce. We could offer help to a whole lot of people, but only if the network is there to provide support. Keep expanding, I'll help in more ways than you can imagine. The Doctor. Doctor Who. Bigger bags, more blood. Have you been using that high-capacity blood bag I made for you, Sam? Really do think you'll find it useful. I wish it was possible for me to print them on demand, but it's simply not feasible at the moment. Ordinary materials won't suffice for construction. It requires beryllium. The machinery I used for production is somewhat unique and unwieldy, so replicating the process elsewhere isn't an option. I'll keep looking into it, of course, but in the meantime, you'll just have to fabricate them here. Sorry, Sam. Do be sure to stop by and pick some up if you have a chance, though. They might just save your life. The roboticist. Are humans all that important? Couldn't stay away, huh? Glutton for punishment, I reckon. Then let me bore you a little more. I told you before about the drone syndrome and delivery dependence, right? Turns out there's an interesting little theory both might be reactions to, against might be a better way of putting it, the possibility of singularity. Humans didn't want to stop being human, and the Death Stranding, that was mankind's last ditch to attempt and retain its sense of self, we caused it somehow because we couldn't bear the thought of losing our identity. Makes sort of sense, no? Humans have beaches, humans become PTs, humans cause void outs. It all comes back to us. We die, sure, but at least we die with a bang, not a whimper. Maybe our next step should be to try and make a singularity happen for real. Get rid of us for once and for all. I mean, I don't actually think it that way. You know I don't. But sometimes I can almost see the logic in it. What's the measurement of a man? Oh god, Bioshock again? What's the value in fighting tooth and nail to keep him around? Is it ever too much? Can't help wondering. I tell you, I'd hate to die and come back as a BT and stir up trouble. Better to be rid of the flesh, don't you think, Sam? Doctor, the chiral network might push us even further apart. A medical terminal has proven to fit our purposes. If we could supply one to every prepper shelter out there, our ability to treat the sick and injured would be drastically improved. The problem is, I'm only one who knows how to operate it at present. We need to develop it further and perhaps teach AIs how to address patient needs in place of the human. It seems there are no concerns about devices becoming sentient, so an AI can be safely utilized to create what one might be called the ideal doctor. But I've been wondering, is that really in our best interests? Once people are free to live hundreds of miles apart from one another and civilization, what incentive will they have to meet, to interact and socialize? The chiral network brings people together and provides safety and convenience, but could also in time isolate us. I do not wish to disparage you or your tireless efforts to make everyone part of the greater whole, but I suppose what I'm saying is that simply forging connections is not enough, that we have a responsibility to ensure the world we are building with this network is truly better than the one we have now. It falls to all of us to make sure that your hard work is worth it in the end. No more smart. We're getting there. George Beaton. No more smart drugs for me. Hey Sam, it's just me, or are things pretty lively here ever since you first came through? Been checking staff vitals lately. Everyone's in good health and good spirits, it seems. Time was we'd freak out and start fighting over the smaller shit. Nowadays we're all smiles and handshakes, backslapping. Hell, I've even doled out a few hugs. Best of all, I've not got peace of mind. We've got peace of mind, and you know what? I think we're using less smart drugs because of it. Might be our bodies are producing oxy on their own again, even. If so, the day we ditch our smart drugs altogether could be just round the corner. You made it possible, Sam. You've been a hero to us. You've given us hope. You're the great deliverer, Nick Easton. Hey Sam, you're quite something, aren't you? Delivering cargo out there all by yourself. Stitching America back together. I mean, I'm not surprised you're up to it. You're a patriot after all, a member of Bridges too. Still, you've gone far above and beyond. There's something about you, I guess. Maybe it's something to do with the connection between you and the president and Emil. Well, I guess I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, it's going to save the world. I just knew it. Musician. Footsteps, the original musical beat. How's it hanging, Sammy boy? So, like, my parents were musicians and researchers, right? Well, when I was little, my mum taught me something that stuck with me. She said that the first music humans ever had was the sound of footsteps, tempo, volume, intensity. All that shit came from cavemen, or whatever, mimicking the sounds their feet made when they walked. Figures, yeah? You know how you can't help but bob your head to a beat when you hear a tune, like how you can imagine all kinds of sights and sounds and your soul just sings. It's all part of it, man. Oh, and that baby you got strapped to your chest? Sound of your footsteps is totally music to the little guy's ears for sure. You gotta whistle and hum and stuff to get him chill when he's freaking out too, right? There you go. Music, it's totally primal. Walking on two legs made us human in the first place, and then our two legs go and gives us music too. Pretty sweet when you think about it. And I'll bet it works the other way round too. No more music, no more humans. Well, goes pretty deep. Victor Frank, thanks for Igor's flag. I can't believe you brought it to me. That Luden's flag, I owe you one. Sam, I've gotta say, I didn't think I'd ever see it again, especially since Igor made it himself. Some stuff just can't be reprinted, you know. Igor truly believed that Ludens were going to save the world. He dreamed of a day that we'd break out of our little worlds and start seeing the big picture, bigger than America and the Earth. He was looking beyond the coral clouds, towards outer space. This flag was a symbol of all that. Of the future when Ludens would travel the whole another planet, stake claim and call it their own. Guess what I'm trying to say is that there's so much more than a toy. When I hold it, it's like I'm holding my brother's dream. I can't never thank you enough for that, Sam. The musician, the power of music, propels us forward. Hey Sam, had this really cool idea, you gotta hear it. So I made all these new songs, right? Well, I'm gonna share them over the Coral Network, and then I'm gonna stream a couple of performances so my fans all over the country can watch me play live. I'm gonna get everybody to hollow in and watch together so it'll be just like an actual show. Man, if you thought my songs were good, just wait until you see me on stage. It's gonna blow your freaking mind. Bet you wanna know how I came up with such a good idea? Yeah, well, I figured if people ain't gonna get off their asses, put one foot in front of the other, for the future and all that, the power of music might just be enough to get those feet moving, am I right? Let's see you at the show, Sam. I'll save you a seat front row. You're gonna love it. So, Port Knot City. Yes, we're almost done on this bit. Victor Frank. Port Knot City, giving it everything. Hey, Sam. Was thinking I ought to report back to you on how we're doing over here. First things first, the chiral network blew my mind. It's so much better than I was expecting. The latest news from Capital Knot, Waystation dispatches and distro center updates in real time without any lag whatsoever. What's more, we can now rely on generator power to keep us online. That alone's a real game changer. We can send and receive all kinds of supplies too, even without the help of porters like you. As long as we've got the raw materials, the chiral printer can provide us with almost anything we need. You should see the skyline here, cranes all over the place. The city's turning a corner, if you ask me, to be honest. It's almost bringing tears to my eyes to see how far we've come. Anyway, I'll stop rambling, and important thing is, it's all going much better than expected. Catch you later, Sam. Victor Frank, future's looking bright for Port Knot City. Hey there, Sam. Port Knot City is growing by leaps and bounds. I told you about all those cranes and whatnot before, right? Well, that's only the beginning. These days, there's only so many containers coming in and out of the distro center that it's a challenge just to get to the front door. We've been working really hard to increase our productivity, and I'm really proud to say, as our result, our exploits to other distro centers and waystations are increasing all the time. Which means, of course, that we're importing more and more in return as well. This must be what it feels like to put the country back together, right? Bringing people together, building up the UCA. Used to think it was all a pipe dream, but I see it happening now, bit by bit, every damn day. We've even got bot deliveries out here now. It's not a sign that we've been pulling away. I don't know what it is. Actually, I heard some of the bots were assigned to you. I hope you're making use of them. I mean, it's thanks to you and the chiral network that they have viable in the first place, I tell you. I don't know what we'd do without your help. Not close. Same guy again. Port Knot City is a real boom town. Things just keep getting better and better here in Port Knot City, Sam. You got everyone so fired up to do what we could do for the place, and now we're really starting to see the fruits of our labours. You should take a look at the distro centre already. I can't believe the number of shipments it's processing nowadays. Trade is booming. Needless to say, it's all thanks to you. That's why we gave you that star, a symbol of our gratitude. We only gave that to special people. Special. People that we really trust. It's not just for show, though. I presume you've heard the rumours that porters who receive stars from preppers can make use of their shelters. Maybe we should give that a try. Anyway, I just wanted to say thanks for your help. Novelist son, America just ties people down. Sam, I'd like to tell you about my father. Before the Death Stranding, he was a famous writer, and he was always on the move. I'm not just talking about America either. He went all over the world. He didn't like staying in one place for long. As soon as he got bored, he'd pick up his canteen, made from a gourd, of course, and start wandering again. When I was a kid, he'd tell me all sorts of tales about his travels, about the lands that lay beyond the oceans. He even told me about people going to the moon. Kinda ironic that I'd end up being shut away in the shelter after all that, isn't it? This won't last forever though. Us humans will find a way to live outside our shelters one day, I'm sure of it. When that day comes though, the last thing we need is to be tied down to some sort of idea of America. That's why you won't see me jumping to join the UCA. Sorry Sam, but that's the way it is. Photographer's mother, following in her father's footsteps. Dear Sam, you've been doing more for my family than you can ever know. It is a tremendous comfort to know that my husband didn't die in vain, especially since it seems his work was so important. My daughter has her heart set on doing even more, though she says she's going to investigate further. Proud as I am, though, the thought of her putting herself in danger yet again is, well, let's just say a little conflicted. I didn't expect a man like you to call that being selfish, forgive me. That's the last thing you need is me bugging you with my worries. You be careful out there, right? You hear? The photographer. Weird stuff in Dad's old photos. Listen, Sam, there's something I thought you should know. So the data you brought me from the Mountaineer used to belong to my father. I decided to stop taking trips outside because it stressed my mum out too much. So I started going through the old stuff instead. Turns out there are some pictures pretty interesting and pretty weird. There's lots of pictures of Mountain Knot City area, for example, from before the tar showed up and started spreading. And there's something really strange in some of the shots. Some kind of object, I guess. Something glowing. I'd be lying if I said I really wanted to take a look myself, but I couldn't do that to my mum. Guess you'll have to check it out if you're in the area. So close. Philip North, you took the bastards out. Sam, I heard you take care of the terrorists in this area. How the hell did you manage that? I mean, those guys have got their guns and God knows what else, and they wouldn't hesitate to shoot you dead. I can't believe you took them on. I'm glad you did. You really are the great deliverer. Thanks to you, I've started making a few deliveries again, getting back into the waterways. Look like distribution centre will be back to the normal before long. And this guy's tripping on gourds. Novelist's son, I saw space in gourd. Mr. Sam Bridges, I can tell you a story about something that happened recently. I was preparing dinner when all of a sudden my beloved gourds popped into my head and I just had to go and take a look. Did you know what I found when I got there? The most marvellous specimen I'd ever laid eyes on. It was bigger than me, I swear. And whilst I was standing there admiringly, I suddenly realised I was somewhere else. Inside of it, and I was a tiny baby in a great big gourd. Are you having a dream where you thought you was a BB? I grew up there, became an adult, and eventually the gourd world had a Death Stranding of its own. So what did I do then? I shared the gourds with all the people of the gourd world, and they shut the BTs up inside them and set them on fire. Gourd world was saved. I'd saved it. But just as I was basking in the glory of it all, I woke to find myself back in the kitchen and the pot boiling over. Well, I'd have been living a whole other life in Gourd World. Only a few minutes had passed in this one. Sure, you can call it a daydream, but to me, it couldn't have been more real. Has anything like this happened to you? No. Roboticist. Roboticist. Tongue-tied. We aren't really here. Sam, I have a confession to make. I'm not here, never was. A child, a lie. When you spoke with my hologram all those times, you imagined I was inside the shelter, right? But you never saw me, and the mails you've been receiving, they're all written by an AI constructed based on my archive data. Had no idea, did you? Thought I was alive and well, I am, in a sense, since I'm nothing but ones and zeros now. I can't die either, as long as the generator you brought me holds out. Guess I found a way to outlive the stranding. Not really. I'm still kicking. Just waiting to see you come over that horizon with another delivery of little old me and mine. Till then, old friend, don't be a stranger. And I've gone a little bit cuckoo. The geologist. I'm not going to be like Hartman. Dear Sam, I've made a full recovery thanks to you, and I've been able to push on with my research. I've also become important realization. Basic science alone won't unlock the mysteries of the Death Stranding. No, what we're dealing with requires something special, a kind of genius. You know what I'm talking about, right? Hartman. He's the most brilliant mind of his generation. And what's more, he has dooms. Not that long ago, and this is just between ourselves, I wanted to be just like him. Okay, you wanted to be a Bond villain too. Not anymore though, not after that bout of coral contamination. Now, not only do I know I could never be like him, I'm actually glad I'm not. I couldn't take it, I couldn't deal with the nightmares, but with having death as my constant companion, fate might have been kind to him in some ways, but in others, well, now I know he suffers, let's just say that. He's suffering your burden too, I know that. Listen, if there's anything I can do to make life easier for any of you, let me know. I understand that I'm never going to be the genius who cracked the Death Stranding, but I am not useless either. I am here to help. Evo Devo biologist. New life will rise from the tar. Allow me to thank you again for your assistance. My tar analysis is ongoing, but I was somewhat surprised to discover that it contained chemical compounds which bore striking resemblance to the D-amino acids. These chemical compounds which bore these so-called right-handed acids are rarely found in living organisms on Earth. Left-handed L-amino acids are the ones that generally expects. However, this sample of tar contained none save the rarer variant. Hypothesis that this tar may function as a medium to summon the past into the present may be incomplete, for it may also give rise to new life and comprise of D-amino acids. New life more accustomed to the thrive in the post-standing world, perhaps. Would its rise coincide with the fall of the L-amino acid based on life such as ours? All I know at this time is that Stranding is almost certainly the source of this and countless other unexplained phenomena. However, what ultimately lies in the store for this planet and its inhabitants remains a mystery. The geologist. Saving the world is bullshit. I've taken the liberty of jotting down a few observations for you, Sam. Go ahead, have a read if you've got a minute. I've spent years researching the Death Stranding, trying to unravel its mysteries for the sake of humanity. Not Hartman, though. All he does is head to the beach in search of his dead family. He doesn't care about what happens to the human race, he told me as much. What a fucking asshole. I thought, all that talent and he uses it for his own ends. Now I realise that I was wrong. After all, he's not like other people. No one else has to deal with the 24-minute life cycle, or the constant dreams of destruction. Putting himself first is probably the only way he could deal with that shit. And doing stuff for the sake of humanity, saving the world. It's all a load of bull, a nice name for a terrible concept. Remember when people used to kill for their tribes, their countries? This is no different. Can't believe it took a bout of chiral contamination for me to work that out. Evo Devo biologist. Death Stranding was inevitable. How are you doing, Sam? Me, I've been doing some thinking and I've realised maybe there's no need for fear of extinction. Maybe it's inevitable. The tar, the beach, the creatures with strange umbilical cords. All of it existed long, long ago, and now those past extinctions all took place. But in spite of, no, because of it, life evolved and endured. Delve back into the history of the universe and you'll see the same thing happen over and over again. Explosions, death, life. We humans might be gone forever, but life will prevail. I'm sorry, Sam. I know I shouldn't be saying these things while you're out there risking your life and limb for our sakes. Don't worry, I'm not giving up. How can I? I'm terrified of death, like everyone else. I'll stop speculating now and get on with my research. First prepper. Good to meet you at last. It was so good to see you the other day, Sam. You wouldn't believe how long I've been waiting to meet you. Thanks for the delivery too. You know, I think it was over a decade ago when I first heard rumours about you. You're the most famous porter out there. Matter of fact, I'm kind of well known myself. In the prepper world, that is. After all, my grandfather's grandfather was living the shelter life back before even anyone knew what the shelter was. Yeah, that's right. I'm a 7th gen prepper. One of the first prepper families, the originals as it were. Nobody who got that kind of pedigree pumping through their veins. Me, myself, and nobody else. My shits contain more concentrated prepper wisdom than the rest of these amateurs will ever scrape together. Oh, now that's an image. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against porters, but if you think I want anything to do with so-called country, you've got another thing coming. I bet you feel the same way sometimes, right? Well, how about it? How about ditching the bridges, gig and joining up with us? Ooh. Thomas Sunderland, you did it, Sam. You beat the mills. It's really quite quiet around the distro centre these days. I guess you must have put those mules in their place. How the hell did you manage that? How the hell did you manage to walk across the entire continent, never having to kill anyone? I mean, that's the one thing you couldn't do, right? Kill someone, and there's another crater to deal with. Anyway, I don't know how you did it, but I'm grateful. Our bots are way more useful than they used to be. It's all down to you. Spiritualist. A guide for the dead and the living. Sam, I discovered something very interesting. Concerns one of the sacred treasures commonly found in burial chambers in ancient pyramids. You might know this already, but pyramids were in truth gateways to the beach. The Egyptians knew everything that we knew about the mysterious war realm, quite possibly more. A Book of the Dead describes in detail how the soul leaves the physical body after death, and so serves a kind of guide for the souls looking to find their way to the heavenly garden of the afterlife. In other words, those looking to find their way through the beach to what lies beyond. So you see, the beach was always with us. We simply lost knowledge on how to access it and traverse it. Perhaps the BTs found their way through from the other side. None among the living possessed the knowledge to stop them, and perhaps if we can regain that knowledge, we can put an end to Death Stranding once for all. It's worth considering. Can you believe it? I went to the beach, Sam. You have been receiving my mails, haven't you? I hope so. They're important. All more now that I've managed to visit the beach. The Egyptian treasure I told you about, it opened a gateway whilst I was examining it. I'm not exactly sure how or why it came. I'm lost in it. And when I came to my senses, I was somewhere else entirely. I look up to the sky and I saw a great glowing sphere, the moon. Until then, I'd never seen it in I'd only ever seen it in old pictures and photographs, but there it was, floating above me, surrounded by countless twinkling like stars. I cannot begin to describe how beautiful it was. I realised then I must have travelled through time to a period when coral clouds did not blot out the sky above. The excitement was almost overwhelming. I couldn't believe I didn't have my camera with me to document it, I promise you, though. It wasn't a hologram or hallucination, it was a real night sky, and I saw it. Novelist's son. Dream captures, ghouls, and cupids. Mr. Sandbridges, after a lot of thought, I've decided to join the UCA. I was intrigued to learn that the world is full of talismans. Your dream capture, it was Cupid. My ghouls, I know there are plenty of people who dismiss these traditions as superstitions and nonsense, but I've come to believe that there must be a reason why so many evil warding objects and symbols became developed by so many different cultures. Maybe they're all the product of the same forgotten, shared wisdom. All kinds of intriguing things have been said about the gourds in particular, that they symbolise the womb, the universe itself, for example. They're clearly objects of significance and importance, which is why I can't keep them for myself. I've decided I want to send gourd-shaped talisman I've designed to the chiral printers all over the world. Perhaps one day somebody might trap a BT inside one, like in my dream. Gourds work in mysterious ways after all. Spiritualist, Legion of Sams. Sam, truly your dedication to your work is an inspiration to us all. How often have you come to visit me? I've lost track, and on each occasion, your every aspect to so different. Your face, your manner, your equipment, always different, incredible. But it almost makes sense considering how hard you work. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Legion of Sams. But as much as I appreciate it, you don't have to keep coming here for my sake. Surely you have important things to do out west. Okay, novelist son. New type of cryptobite. Hey Sam, have you eaten the cryptobite I gave you yet? It's one of several I found inside the gourd. You know, yep. I was surprised too, but maybe I shouldn't have been. Gourds are pretty weird and wonderful. After all, I told you before about how they were once thought to ward off evil spirits, right? Anyway, I figured that the cryptobite from the gourd got to be a bit special, so I decided to chow down on one. See what happens. The effect was practically immediately. It was like I'd fallen into some kind of dreamland. Now I know what you're thinking, but it wasn't like I was tripping on drugs or anything like that. So he knows what tripping on drugs is like then. This is something really real and not entirely in my head. I even did some reading afterwards and deduced that it was actually a special type of cryptobite, maybe even a mutation, and that eating it sends your hematic regeneration levels through the roof. So that really changed things. I didn't want to bother you with regular gourds anymore. I only have the bad boys and these biotics grown inside them. I've decided to call them Decryptops. By the way, the D is for dream. Get it? The taste is a bit dreamy too, once you get used to it, kind of. Well balanced or something, like herbal medicine. That's good, I mean. I've got a feeling it's not going to be for everyone though. Those are less cultivated palates may find them even disgusting. You're not that fussy though, are you, Sam? Go on, taste the dream. I know you love it. That's the emails up to date. Now we have this. But there's something else I forgot to do. Let's activate you. No, not that. Make delivery.
I'd just about given up on this. I owe you one.
Thank you kindly, Sam. I'll treasure it.
Okay, so we've unlocked 2 other things for that thing. Now, before I get on to the next reading, I need a break, I need to have a cigarette, and I need to have some liquid refreshment. That sounds such a plan. We'll get him massaging his shoulders. Okay, so I've had a bit of liquid refreshment. I've currently got my cigarette on the go. Probably going to cause me to want some more liquid refreshment. Right, before I do interviews, let's do this. So, memory chips. That's interesting. I find it interesting that they're all people-shaped. Godzilla. So that's information about Godzilla. Stand By Me, 1986. I am curious if these are here because they're things that Kojima are interested. I mean, that kind of makes sense. It is a classic film, Bridge Across the River Kwai. And then we have some pottery. We have a soap bubble, which are actually really fascinating physics objects. Really fascinating. Much more interesting than what you'd actually believe. Wow. You have got to have some serious patience to do that. Then we get on to these. So, Honda Rebel 500. Yamaha MT-09. Yamaha RD500 LC. Kawasaki Z1 900 Super 4. I think I've seen one of them in real life. Yep, and one of my brothers has got one of had one of those. Bronson. Sorry, almost let my cigarette go out. God of War original video game soundtrack. Dawn, Silent Poets. Unknown Man's Journal. Oh dear. So, fear as pleasure, Deadman. This was 3 years ago. Whether they realise it or not, the people of the fallen nations suffer greatly as a result of the separation, isolation we all must endure. That's why oxytocin supplement is so vital. However, not all of us require it to survive. In fact, recent studies have shown something very interesting indeed, an increase in the number of people who regard fear not as a stress experience to be avoided, but a pleasurable one to be sought out. In humans, the amygdala regulates the emotional responses to fear and pleasure, including inducing stimuli. Some scientists theorize that because these contradictory emotions are processed by the same region, we may have the capacity to convert one into the other. Conversely, there are two governed by different parts of the brain, such as transform would be impossible. In an age of threats as BTs, timefall and terrorism abound, could the ability to experience fear as pleasure serve as a useful mutation, an adaptation even? I don't see why not. I see lots of reasons why not. The Egyptian view of the brain. It can be extracted through the nose. So this is Hartman. 3 years ago again. It's common nowadays to think of a personality, the mind of the consciousness as a whole, as phenomena born exclusively of the brain. However, to the ancient Egyptians, things are different. They believe that the person's soul, their spiritual essence, reside in the heart. As a result, the mummification process involved the removal of the internal organs, save this one, the brain included. To Egyptians, the man's ka was represented by the container and contained within the heart, whereas the ha made up the other organs and remainder of the flesh. Hardly a picture compatible with modern medical science. But for a moment, consider that BBs, which porters utilize in the field, and with brain-dead still mothers to which they are bound, could not be said that in turning our attention away from the brain towards the heart, the womb, the umbilicus, in that quest grow close to the world of the dead, are we perhaps returning to the old ways? Repatriates and void-outs. 3 years ago, I've come across a number of old reports which make mention of humans who have had certain powers which have led them to become known as repatriates. As we know, when human and BT come into contact, a void-out results, which is analogous to the physicists would term an annihilation event. These events occur in a matter when matter meets antimatter, and the mass is converted violently and abruptly into energy. The process is highly efficient, though some energy is lost to the production of neutrosis. Neurotrolysis, maybe? Similarly, in a void-out, vast amounts of energy are released, resulting in destruction on a devastating scale, which leaves behind a large crater. Void-outs triggered by contact with repatriates, however, constantly result in smaller craters. It is suspected that this is because the energy is lost to the beach, same manner that it is lost to the neutrino production in the conventional annihilation event. and that in this case of repatriates, the amount of energy lost is particularly high. That said, how the repatriate body survives intact is a far bigger mystery, and one which I will refrain from commenting until I've had a chance to examine one in the flesh. One notable repatriate is Sam Strand, former member of Bridges, who left some years ago, and has been making his way in the world as a poor ever since. I do hope to get to meet him one day, considering how invaluable he could be in advancing our understanding of the true nature of beaches and stranding. Evolution, Death Stranding, and Fear Dying. 1 year ago, Hartman's Lab. Death has been Homo sapiens' constant companion for every step of our evolutionary journey. Cultures and civilizations have been built with an awareness of our relationship in depth to the extent to which we can accept to live with it. Out of our fear and inevitable decomposition and destruction of the flesh, our ancestors developed elaborate embalming techniques, death masks of the like. Indeed, the mask has never been a symbol of the soul that transcends the world to exist for eternity in the next. The mummies and sarcophagi of ancient Egypt are but one instance of this. Honoured individuals were given masks and placed inside sarcophagi in order to be preserved for eternity, thereby transcending death and attaining immortality. Paintings and photographs are no different, really. They're simply more modern variants of Egyptians' masks and sarcophagi. Indeed, all of humanity's crowning achievements, art, language, writing, are arguably a reaction to death and the expression of our desire to overcome it. There are great feats born from fear, and one might even go to as far as say that it was the primal fear of death that drove evolution of our ancestors into the Homo sapiens in the first place. In fact, I'd go even further to say I would posit that this fear that brought about Death Stranding itself certainly seemed more and more plausible of late. Oxytocin, Victor, Port Knot City. Back before the Stranding, people did not rely on smart drugs like oxytocin so much, probably because they weren't so damn isolated. Me and my brother Igor, we got separated from our folks after the first void out. Shit was crazy. I was like a kid, but he was even younger too. Too young to have go through all that. Spending night after night holed up in those ruins, it was rough. We had each other, held each other close to stay warm, and then it made things better. Docs tell you that oxy's doing its thing, hormone the body releases when we touch each other. It's why mothers form bonds with their kids and kids when they hold them and other stuff like that. But the comms network, not what they were. It's more dangerous than ever to go outside, and even when you got other people around, they don't seem keen to make physical contact. A collective aversion due to an ingrained fear of BTs and void outs, or so I've been told. Add it all up and you've got people that's isolated and scattered, stressed out and insecure. So we've got no choice but supplement our oxy levels, fill the void left by physical affection with the chemical TLC. Pretty fucked up, am I right? But I know it used to go to war over race and religion. That's all back in the day, but but that had to be better than living like this. Why planes and drones can't fly. Igor, Central Knot. I know I wanted to be, when I was a kid, an astronaut, believe it or not. Must be hard to imagine now, but back before the Stranding, skies were full of drones, airplanes, all kinds of crap zipping back and forth from continent to continent, some that even went up into outer space. But the chiral clouds put an end to all that, and nothing flies now. Nah, it all came crashing down, and my dreams with it. Damn clouds mess with flight systems somehow, don't ask me how. Eating up comm signals too, which is how come long distance signals can't get through anymore. That's why we've got no idea what's happening in other countries, set us back more than a century in that respect. People talk a lot about how the Stranding sent us scrambling for cities, severed the bonds between us, but more than that, it severed the land from the sky. Antimatter in storage. Philip North, distribution centre north of Mountain Knot City. Everything went clockwork. We recovered all the antimatter, performed the requisite maintenance on the magnetic trap too. Should be a bit more stable now. I still can't believe those amateurs managed to get their hands on the stuff though. Apparently they stumbled across it whilst researching coral clouds, though I suppose that makes some sort of sense. Even before the Death Stranding, there was evidence that regular lightning storms could generate antimatter, and chiral ones are surely stranger. Sounds like they're able to capture it only once, though, so that's something. Imagine if antimatter was easy to get hold of. Terrorists would have a field day. Anyway, we've got it stored away safely now, and no one's the wiser. I just hope something good comes of it, that's all. You know what the alternative is. Lock. Prepper shelters, the Elder personal shelter. Back before the Stranding, there was all kinds of companies selling all kinds of shelters, hurricane-proof, earthquake-proof, disease-proof, war-proof, terror-proof. Probably had a recession-proof model, for all I know. Anyway, you could picture it all going to hell. They had a shelter for it, and the guys building up military types, astronautical types, engineers, amateur enthusiasts. Everybody and his uncle was out to make his buck. But if you wanted something that actually lasted, you had yourself 3 solid choices. Sorry, chat threw me off there. Almost done, I'm so glad to say. And I can actually start playing the game again. First, there's your American Survival Shelter units. They were global military hardware supply, used to build big government bunkers, nuclear shelters and all that. They started selling out to the general consumer right before the Stranding. Damn good timing, huh? Anyway, those babies were the creme de la creme. Next up is your Millennium Preppers. They made a big right after the string of terror attacks. Started out selling bank vaults and reinforced containers and the like. Wasn't hard for them to break into the shelter game, and they knew how to build them tough. Then there was your domestic guides, well, safety housing. All about affordability they were. Cheap, cheerful, well, as cheerful as anyone could be after the Stranding. Still, they've got they did a lot of good for a lot of folks after things went to shit. No, I brain fart all the time. Prepper interview the doctor. I know what you're thinking. Why is this prepper claiming to be a doctor? Don't worry, you're not the first. Rest assured, I really am a doctor. I even have a medical license, though the government body that issued it to me is long gone, so I wouldn't be offended if that counts for little. But licenses or no, people still need doctors. Preppers get stick too, you know. That's not so hard for you to get your head around, is it? Most folks haul themselves to a city hospital, but there's something wrong. But out in the boonies, that's not really an option. But we can't just leave those people to die. You know full well what would follow, and so do I what I can't help round here. I'm the only one people can rely on to keep them alive. I don't like that sentence. Whenever I'm needed, I try and find somewhere to find someone to transport me in a patient's resident, but it's hardly the most efficient approach, and it doesn't endear me to the porters either. Heard the Bridges is trying to bring everyone into their current network. If it's as good as I've heard, it could be a real game changer. I could perform all sorts of diagnosis and even treatments without having to leave the shelter. I hope you can manage to extend it here soon. There's lots of people out here in the country counting on both of us. Lucy's report. Lucy. Just concluded my first therapy session with Sam Strand. It was not held at the patient's request. Sam's adoptive mother, President Strand, approached me in the hope that I might help her son overcome his fear of being touched by people. Sam is an intriguing case, his reluctance notwithstanding. He recognises that his condition has and will continue to cause him much distress. Suspect it's rooted in a childhood trauma, but unfortunately we have just scratched the surface, and I cannot even begin to speculate what it might be. Like many Bridges core team members, Sam is doomed sufferer. Unlike them, however, he's also a repatriate. Whether or not this is related to his fear of touching people, I cannot say at this time, but he would hardly be the first to manifest phobias as a result of his abilities. As an infant, Sam lost both parents and adopted by President Strand. Owing to her stress and time-consuming responsibilities, I can only presume that she was unable to afford him sufficient attention, which is to say that a distant relationship with his adoptive mother may have been a contributing factor. As previously mentioned, though, Sam is very reluctant to talk about himself. He is intensely private and will take time to build trust and convince him to open up to me. Almost sounds like a video game protagonist. Report 3, so we've missed one somewhere. It came no surprise, but Sam is unreceptive to my suggestion and rejected my assessment of his relationship with Emil. He asserted that he is not dependent on her or Bridget, and he went so far to question my credentials as a psychotherapist. He pronounced resistance to the idea only serves as further evidence of his dependency. Nevertheless, there is little I can do if Sam's unwilling to explore the possibility, other than continue to share my observations and hope that he eventually changes his mind. For the time being, I've decided to focus instead on Sam's feelings towards Bridges and his place within the organisation, given that it was founded to support and protect his adoptive mother, and that the other core members have dooms like he does. I think there is something to be gained from the discussion. His growing responsibilities within Bridges due to their expanding mandate and his abilities as a repatriate surely put him under great pressure, and I wonder if his enthusiasm for the mission was sincere. Based on our time spent together thus far. I believe he may have embraced his role because it helped him cope with feelings of isolation, that he may have pledged himself to an impossible endeavour because it was preferable to living and dying alone. Report 4. I decided a different approach was required, so I requested a meeting with the President. Discretion was vital, as any information which might suggest she is receiving mental health treatment could be exploited by her opponents. The meeting was listed as an interview in official records, though I was more than willing to offer my services if they'd been requested. I opened asking about Sam's childhood, to which the President responded with an immediate and heartfelt apology. Her frankness shocked me, I must confess. She expressed deep regret for her failure to engage with him physically and emotionally, as she felt a mother should. At times it felt as though she was apologising to her son by proxy. Her candour was very impressive, as it was appreciated. The President told me that her daughter Emily had mostly taken care of Sam in her absence. She glossed over the details, but she divulged that Emily also has dooms and claimed that she would often take Sam with her to play on the beach. Interestingly, President Strand suggested that their time spent together may have related to his current condition. Report 5. President Strand loves her son. My meeting with her confirmed this beyond any doubt. The question, I believe, is whether or not Sam perceives mother's love. Both Sam and the President talk about the beach as though it were real, physical place, but I'm convinced that it does not exist, that it is a shared delusion, and Emily and Sam's so-called visits are mental constructs. Sam would not necessarily be aware of this, especially if he had been planted in his mind. Such an explanation would fit with his claims that he has never been able to visit the beach of his own volition. What if subconsciously Sam has developed an attachment or longing for the beach, one that parallels his feelings towards his sister and mother? Furthermore, what if they all became, in essence, objects of veneration? Upon further consideration, it is not so hard to imagine President Strand is an exceptional woman who exhibits pyromaniac qualities, as does her daughter Emily. I definitely know that. Panromantic. Don't know that word. This is surely one of the reasons why they've been able to commit themselves so completely to the cause of America Reconstruction. Their one true love, Sam, on the other hand, I've diagnosed as demisexual. His sexual desires are strictly limited to those whom he has formed emotional connection, excepting family members like Emily, of course. It's only natural to be highly regard those whom we develop an intimate emotional connections. For children, this can lead to veneration. Yet there is also an inherent contradiction to this, for divinity is distanced by nature. Even as we yearn to grow closer, I have come to the conclusion that the contradiction is the root of Sam's problem with touching people. Yes! I did it! Oh, okay, chat's helping me out. Panramankata, adjective noting or relating to a person who is romantically attracted to people of all sexual orientations or gender identities. Okay. Good to know. Still can't say the blinking word.